Hey guys, welcome back to The Binger. Spider-Man Far From Home picks up after the events of Avengers Endgame. The trailer dropped in May showing Peter Parker as he tries to pick up the pieces after the demise of his mentor Tony Stark. It's one of this year's most anticipated movies, but what villains will Spidey find himself up against? Join us as we take a look at some of the confirmed and some of the rumored bad guys that we could see in the next Marvel movie. Marvel has gone to great lengths to keep the plot of Spider-Man Far From Home under wraps. They did a good job of it too, so much that its secrecy is almost on par with Endgame. Rumors had been flying around for months that Jake Gyllenhaal had signed up to play the villain Mysterio, but no one confirmed or denied this until recently. The trailer shows the Donnie Darko actor in all his caped glory, so the cat is officially out of the bag. But who is Mysterio, and what could his appearance mean for Spidey? In the trailer released earlier this month, Nick Fury introduces Mysterio to Peter Parker, saying that he's from a different version of Earth. That's pretty much all the information we have so far, but in the comics, Mysterio is one of Spidey's main foes. Known as a master of illusion, the mischievous master of special effects isn't a huge fan of our web-slinging hero. He thinks that his path to glory is made by knocking Spider-Man down a peg or three. It'll be interesting to see what Gyllenhaal does with the part, especially as fans have been waiting for the character for a long time. Considering how many Spider-Man movies we've seen in the past, Mysterio's debut couldn't have come at a better time. As we briefly touched on before, there have been a lot of Spider-Man movies. Thankfully, there are tons of villains to choose from, but it's also sad to think that others have run their course. Marvel isn't really one for reusing the bad guys. Instead, they tend to opt for something new and shiny. It's all about keeping the fans entertained. With that being said, no one expected to see the Sandman back on our screens. Sandman was used in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, back when Tobey Maguire was still wearing the red suit. Referred to as Flint Marko in the movie, he was portrayed as a tortured soul who just wanted to look after his daughter. When he falls into irradiated sand on a nuclear test site, he ends up with the ability to turn into sand. You'd think that sand would be easy to defeat, but that stuff is darn hard when packed in tight. In the comics, the criminal sees the error of his ways and turns to the good side, becoming part of the Avengers. It looks like this movie is focusing on the Elementals, a small group of villains infrequently mentioned in the comics. Sandman has also been spotted in the trailer, but some believe it's not him at all, but the elemental character Magnum. As far as villains go, Dimitri Smerdyakov is as bad as they come. He may lack the power of the likes of Thanos, but he makes up for it in sheer nastiness. This master of disguise is the first supervillain to ever go head-to-head with Spidey, making his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man. Born a Soviet citizen, Dimitri quickly develops a talent for mimicking others, hence his chosen bad guy name. Alongside his half-brother, Kraven the Hunter, Chameleon had run-ins with several of the Avengers. When Kraven took his own life, Dimitri went nuts. Aren't all the best baddies a little loopy? Back in 2018, some outlets reported that Numan Akar had signed on to play the part of a character called Dimitri. During an interview with the movie's director, Screen Rant asked outright if this character was Chameleon, as many fans thought. John Watts skirted around the subject, refused to say yes or no. Chameleon's appearance would certainly make sense for the plot, as he is a genius at international espionage. We know from the trailers that Peter is visiting Europe, so who knows? It could definitely happen. What's more intimidating than a body of water rushing toward you at lightning speed? Not much. Spider-Man is great and all, but even he struggles when faced with that. It's like seeing a spider trying to climb up the side of the tub and turning on the faucet. Totally unfair. When the movie first started to film, Tom Holland showed a behind-the-scenes snippet of the Venice set. In the background, a stunt double was being pounded by a giant wave. Let's hope that guy got a bonus. This little moment made many fans speculate that Marvel is finally introducing HydroMan. The character has a great background that is totally movie-worthy. Morris Bench gained his watery powers when he was involved in an accident while working on a cargo ship. The ship was testing an experimental water generator at the time, which made Bench turn into a living body of water. Sadly for Spidey, it was all his fault, although it was totally innocent. It was Spider-Man that knocked Bench into the sea when he was battling another opponent, Namor. They say that all is fair in love and war, but Bench clearly didn't think so and maintains a grudge. In the comics, he pursues Spider-Man relentlessly, often teaming up with other villains to try to bring Peter Parker down once and for all. Visuals don't lie, so we know that HydroMan is going to play a part in Far From Home. What do you think he'll get up to? Molten Man is the antithesis of HydroMan, as he's a fiery entity. Mark Raxton started out as a scientist, but his greed overpowered him. He wanted nothing more than to be deliriously rich. Unfortunately, his ambitions made him a little careless. When attempting to steal a new metallic alloy that the Spider Slayers had created, Raxton was tackled. The mixture was spilled on him and Molten Man was born. He turned into a type of metal that was both pliable, strong, and immune to Spidey's webbing. Raxton's skin can become so hot that it once ran at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. LEGO is making action figures of the supervillain, pretty much confirming that he will appear in the movie. Interestingly, in the comics, Molten Man is the brother of Liz Allen, aka Vulture's daughter. While the connection might not be explored in the movie, the groundwork is certainly there. Plus, it would be cool to segue into bringing Vulture back into the picture too. Why not make it an Allen family affair? It would create awesome visuals on screen if both Molten Man and HydroMan go up against Spidey. With Hydro's immense liquid state and Molten Man's flame-ridden form, it could be quite a spectacle. Michael Keaton bossed as Batman, didn't he? He had all the tortured finesse that Bruce Wayne carries around with him. It's no wonder that he's been a tough act to follow. Many have tried, including Ben Affleck, but the less said about that, the better. In a big switch from DC hero to Marvel bad guy, Keaton played the main antagonist in Spider-Man: Homecoming. When Peter discovered that the Vulture was actually his love interest's dad, it became kind of complicated. Eventually, Spidey had no choice but to take Keaton's character down, and he was carted off to prison. Vulture is one of the few people that knows Peter's true identity, so he could potentially make a comeback in Far From Home. There are a ton of routes writers could go down with this character that have yet to be explored. Vulture could make some noise from behind bars, altering his criminal buddies. He could break out and join forces with someone else who has a bone to pick with Spider-Man. Or he could even surprise us all and not be a villain at all, but a comrade. After all, Peter did save Vulture's daughter, so maybe he feels like he owes him one. The jury is still out on this one, but we love ourselves some Michael Keaton. He could make for a welcome addition. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but at least Tinkerer is self-explanatory. He's a bad guy that likes to tinker with things. Phineas Mason has a role in Homecoming as one of Vulture's crew. Formerly a salvage guy, he makes the weapons that Vulture uses by using Chitauri, Dark Elf, and Ultron technology that he's managed to get a hold of during a cleanup. Although he has a very small part to play compared to some of the other bigger players, Mason is still out there. He didn't get thrown into the slammer like Vulture and some of the other guys, meaning he's still at large. Overall, his character is mild-mannered and subservient for a villain, which could indicate he's more of a henchman than a standalone baddie. When Vulture takes on the heist of the Stark cargo plane, Tinkerer expresses concern for his welfare. He seems genuinely worried when things go wrong and urges his boss to give up and get somewhere safe. Of course, Toomes doesn't listen and ends up getting arrested. This could potentially mean two things for the future of the character. Mason might stay loyal to Toomes and do his bidding from the outside, or he could find someone else to serve. There's nothing to say that he will be in Far From Home, though, so we're just speculating on this one. Bad guys like to have names that strike the fear in people's hearts. Scorpion hit the nail on the head. It sounds way better than HydroMan, doesn't it? Not that we're really dissing our favorite puddle, but it really does. What would you be more scared of, the threat of a poisonous sting or a good splash? It's not that hard to choose. Originally introduced as Mac Gargan in Homecoming, the criminal mastermind tries to make a deal with Adrian Toomes' crew. He hopes that their technology will propel him to the next level of notoriety. Sadly for him, Spidey sabotages the plan, ripping a ferry in half in the process. The FBI captured him and threw him in jail along with Toomes. This is where things get interesting. In a post-credits scene, we see Gargan talking to Toomes, trying to get him to give up Spidey's true identity. Toomes, aka Vulture, chooses to lie to his new bunk buddy, which could indicate that he's changed. However, Gargan makes it clear he has friends on the outside willing to grind Spidey to a pulp. Scorpion is an intriguing character in the comics, and fans were betting on his return as one of the big baddies in the next installment. From what we've seen, there's no evidence that this is going to happen. If it doesn't happen this time around, though, it doesn't mean that it's never going to materialize. Marvel meticulously plans every move they make, so watch this space. We predict that Gargan will pop up somewhere in the future, maybe when you least expect to see him. If there was one character that fans wanted to see more of in Homecoming, it was Aaron Davis, played by Donald Glover. The multi-talented star did an incredible job of bringing the tiny part to life, leaving audiences wanting more. Although he had a very minor part to play in that movie, his character has a story that's worth some screen time. In the comics, Davis gets his hands on some kick-butt technology that allows him to become the incredible thief called the Prowler. He's also the uncle of Miles Morales, the ultimate Spider-Man. Prowler comes to blows with Scorpion at one stage after a deal goes bad, which is the perfect opportunity for writers to tie the two in together. As far as superhuman powers, Prowler is all out. His only real skill is his ability to steal stuff, which is great and all, but doesn't really pack a big cinematic punch. Davis isn't the first to hold the mantle either, as it originally belonged to Hobie Brown. Regardless of the character's abilities, it would be awesome to see Glover reprise the role. Maybe the writers can work some magic and twist Prowler into something audiences would really love to see. With Glover at the wheel, it could totally work. Do you have a favorite entry that you would love to see make it to the big screen? Sound off in the comments. No, before you go, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss a thing from us here at The Binger. Until next time, thanks for watching and we'll see you on the flip side.